I'm Matt Gelka in Washington. A Truth Social post from over the weekend appeared to indicate that the president was openly asking his Justice Department to bring charges against his political enemies. Allegations that former FBI Director James Comey lied to Congress center around testimony that happened in 2020, focusing on FBI investigations into Russian interference efforts in the 2016 election.
I can only say that Comey's a bad person. He's a sick person. I think he's a sick guy, actually. He did terrible things at the FBI. But I don't know. I have no idea what's going to happen.
The president's Truth Social post from over the weekend appeared to pressure Attorney General Pam Bondi to find charges to bring against Comey, California Democratic Senator Adam Schiff, and New York Attorney General Letitia James. He ended his post with, "They impeached me twice and indicted me 5 times over nothing. Justice must be served now." Bondi had dinner with the president Wednesday night as her office weighed bringing charges against Comey.
It is not weaponizing the Department of Justice to demand accountability for those who weaponized the Department of Justice.
White House trade advisor Peter Navarro, who served prison time for refusing to comply with a congressional subpoena related to the January 6th investigation, said Comey should be imprisoned.
He broke the law and I didn't. Simple as that. He was the architect and mastermind of what's come to be known as the Russia hoax.
The case was revived in the Eastern District of Virginia, where U.S. Attorney Eric Siebert resigned last week after being pressured to bring charges against James for mortgage fraud. White House aide Lindsey Halligan was then named interim U.S. Attorney for the Virginia office.
We are quickly turning into a banana republic. The President of the United States is now employing the full power of the federal government, the FCC, the Department of Justice, in order to punish, lock up, take down off the air all of his political enemies.
The statute of limitations to seek an indictment against Comey is 5 years, and this upcoming Tuesday would mark 5 years since his testimony to Congress. Reporting in Washington, I'm Matt Gelka. I'm Matt Gelka in Washington. Former FBI Director James Comey was indicted over allegations he lied to Congress. It was the next step in a pressure campaign from the president. The president celebrated the indictment of former FBI Director James Comey.
It's about justice, really. It's not revenge. It's about justice. It's also about the fact that you can't let this go on. They are sick, radical left people, and they can't get away with it. And Comey was one of the people. He wasn't the biggest, but he's a dirty cop.
Comey was indicted Thursday following pressure from Trump and ahead of a statute of limitations deadline next week. Comey faces 2 counts, making a false statement and obstruction of a congressional proceeding, and has said he's innocent.
I'm not afraid, and I hope you're not either. I hope instead you are engaged, you are paying attention, and you will vote like your beloved country depends upon it, which it does.
The charges stem from 2020 testimony from Comey. He was asked about older testimony from 2017 when he said he did not authorize any leaks about Russian-related investigations into then-candidates Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton.
Have you ever authorized someone else at the FBI to be an anonymous source in news reports about the Trump investigation or the Clinton investigation?
No.
Former Comey deputy Andrew McCabe said he was authorized to leak in 2018.
So your testimony is you've never authorized anyone to leak? And Mr. McCabe, if he says contrary, is not telling the truth. Is that correct?
Again, I'm not going to characterize Andy's testimony, but mine is the same today.
Comey's lawyers may argue this is all politically motivated in a trial, but the reputational damage and costs might be good enough for a president who has vowed to go after perceived enemies.
It's an expensive endeavor. DOJ is bringing the full might of the federal government behind this case. It will be an expensive and time-consuming and also very stressful situation for any defendant.
Comey could face a maximum of 5 years in prison if convicted. His arraignment is scheduled for October 9th. Reporting in Washington, I'm Matt Gelka.
Now that former FBI Director James Comey has been indicted on 2 federal charges, there are reports more are coming, and soon. Yesterday, Vice President J.D. Vance said on Fox News Sunday there's certainly going to be more indictments during the next 3.5 years of the Trump administration. Joining us now to discuss that and the funding showdown on Capitol Hill is our Washington insider, Armstrong Williams. Good morning to you, sir. Who could be next?
Who knows? John Brennan, Brandon Willits, Letitia James. All you need to do is go back to the role of all those that tried to, in their own way, bring charges, whether they're trying to destroy his business and bringing it forth a judgment of almost $500 million, which the courts threw out in New York. Letitia James and James Comey has a lot to answer for, Jan. It's unfortunate. They never thought that Donald Trump had a snowball chance of winning the White House again. And now there's, you know what to pay.
Well, we talked about Brennan and Clapper before. Of those two, do we think we know there's an investigation going on at least. Do we expect any kind of indictments to come down?
I don't think Clapper, I could be wrong, is on the list. I think Clapper has been cooperating, and Clapper and Brennan never had the close relationship that the media made it out to be. So I got to tell you, there's definitely a list of people that tried to destroy Donald Trump and wanted to see him in jail. And now the opposite could be happening to those that perpetrated, and some of them just outright lied and created lies and evidence against him. I mean, just look at the Trump dossier.
Also, there is a big showdown again on the budget with talks of another partial government shutdown. So, you know, the president's going to be meeting with some top congressional leaders today. We know they're going to be meeting there in the Oval Office. What do you think we can expect? What's going to come out of this?
Jen, I don't think the president would be meeting if he did not think he had a pathway forward to averting the shutdown. I think on a deeper level, the president kind of wants the government to shut down so he can shutter the agencies and complete the firing and terminations, because he said there would be massive firings. I think Schumer has AOC lurking in the midst. She wants to challenge him in the Senate, and he cooperated the last time. And I don't think it's a principal position for the Democrats. They want to save Obamacare, but they also need to show unity and that they can work together, because so many Americans will be disenfranchised and harmed if the government were to shut down.
So Republicans have insisted they're not going to make any concessions. So why wouldn't Democrats just agree to a continuing resolution just to buy some time? What can Democrats gain from a shutdown?
Optics, more funding, more fundraising, satisfying their base. This has less to do with principle and more about raising money and satisfying their woke base, which is very dangerous right now, Jan.
Also, another story we're following this morning, Armstrong, is, of course, President Trump sending in troops to Portland, Oregon to try and protect ICE agents at facilities there. Right now, local authorities and also officials in Portland are trying to sue and block those federal agents and those troops from coming there. Should the president send reinforcements to all ICE facilities, especially after what happened in Dallas?
Listen, we've seen this play out in Los Angeles. We've seen it play out in other places. Look, I've always advocated that you should have the governor's request to bring the National Guard and those troops in. It's much better for everybody in the process. But obviously the president is bent on bringing this crime and destruction under control. The disrespect of the ICE agents should not be tolerated. You may not respect his methods of processes, but obviously it does generate results and send the message that we're not going to tolerate this kind of behavior.
Yeah, and what do you make of these officials, these local officials trying to sue to block troops from the National Guard troops from going there?
It's usually failed, and by the time they're on the ground, they're there for 2 or 3 months before the courts rule, and you're able to remove them. And then the courts may reinforce itself by going to the Supreme Court saying that the troops can remain. It's just it's a show. And who loses? Well, who gains are these criminals and these people who disrespect law enforcement that continue their behavior. It gives them another reprieve to continue doing the same.
Washington Insider Armstrong Williams, great to see you always on a Monday. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Jan.
More indictments against former administration officials are expected now that ex-FBI Director James Comey is facing federal charges. In fact, over the weekend, President Trump also mentioned former FBI Director Christopher Wray, also under a major federal investigation. Joining us now to discuss is retired FBI Special Agent in Charge Jody Weis. Jody, good morning to you. You know, we know time was running out for the statute of limitations. The DOJ really just made this in the nick of time. Will this lead to a conviction? We know false statements are not easy cases.
No, they're not, Jan. They are difficult. There's a couple things you have to prove. Number one is intent. Did the director knowingly and willfully make those comments, or was he just going to claim a mistake? It has to be material. what he said had to be consequential. Did it influence Congress's decisions? So you got to look at it that way. We've all been through these congressional hearings. Sometimes the questions are more like statements. So were the questions clear that he answered? And then finally, the biggest question to me is always time. What did Comey know at the time he made those comments? Did something happen after the fact that changed those? So those are all things that the government's going to have to put together for a solid case. And, you know, they're not easy. And we'll have to see how that plays out.
What do you think about Christopher Wray? You think he's next?
I wouldn't say right now. Is he in the crosshairs? 100%. If you look at some of the stuff that just happened recently, these 274 agents that Kash Patel is talking about, that happened on his watch. Now, when he testified to that, he was dancing around under the terms undercover agents versus plainclothes, sources and methods. He was trying to dance around telling the truth. Why, I have no idea. But there's a couple other issues. Just the other day, Kash Patel said that those 274 agents were deployed against Bureau standards and protocols, which I would agree with. And he also said that Kash Patel, it was directly because of his corrupt leadership. So that Comey's direct corrupt leadership. So think about it. Yeah. The director of the FBI is considered corrupt by the current director of the FBI. Not good. And one final point, if you remember that Oversight Project watchdog group, they sent 2 referrals to the Department of Justice because of his testimony during the Chinese interference in the election, as well as that Richmond memo that classified Catholics as extremists. So he's got some issues facing him.
Also, I want to go back to what you said about Kash Patel, because he said agents were deployed after the riot had begun specifically for a crowd control mission. That's what he said. What did you make of that?
Yeah, I'll take what he says as being true. I don't understand that at all. However, I did check with some Washington field office agents at that time I'm friends with, and they said that was true. But Jim, why would you do that? Agents are not trained in crowd control. I was on SWAT for 5 years. We had no training in that whatsoever. They didn't have the gear, they didn't have the training, it's not their mission. And if they're deployed for crowd control, none of them were any type of identification. Right. So why would agents go into a crowd without saying FBI? It's unbelievable to me that this happened. If it did happen this way, what a total disaster of leadership that was.
Well, no kidding. And also, why didn't former FBI Director Christopher Wray just admit to it? It doesn't make any sense, especially if they're there to support law enforcement efforts. I mean, clearly there's more to this story, right?
Oh, yeah, 100%. If what we are saying today is true, we're going to help out the MPD, why not just say that? You know, they're not going to, crowd control is not their mission. Why wasn't Wray candid about that? There was no sources and methods involved. There was no reason not to be candid. Think back to Assistant Director Jill Sanborn, who I've known for a long time. When asked by Senator Cruz, were there FBI resources there? She claims, I can't answer that question. Why? If they were there for crowd control, why can't you be candid? And why are we just finding about this now? Right. Why has this been held back?
And let's go down this road for a minute. Let's just say they were there for crowd control or whatever, and there was nothing nefarious. So if they were there for legitimate reasons to get intel and report what was happening in real time, again, why not just admit that, right?
Yeah, I don't know. We did that at the Taste in Chicago. You know how chaotic that could be. And we put about 200 gang investigators into the crowd. Why? For intelligence gathering. If they saw some troublemakers starting to get things riled up, we could delicately pull them out. Nobody would even know they were gone, but it was great intel. So why not use the agents? And that gets back to another point. I would love to look at the pre-planning of this. Why did the president authorize 10,000 National Guard troops there? This should all have been in place. They should have had agents secreted everywhere. There should have been surveillance going on to have a handle to stop any of this from happening. So as this goes on, there's always more questions than answers. But I think with Kash Patel and Pam Bondi and Bongino, I think we do have a team that's going to at least get us those answers, which I think as Americans we all deserve.
Retired FBI Special Agent, we sure do. Jody Weis, great to see you, sir. Thanks for joining us this morning.
Thanks, Jan.